This is every single fight to make next after UFC 301, Pantoja versus Erceg. I've got all of the key fighters from that card on the screen right now. Some winners, some losers, and you may notice there is an empty box next to all of them, and that's where their next opponent's going to go, who I have hidden around the perimeter of the screen. I'll slowly reveal those opponents one by one as the video goes on and place them where they belong on the screen. Let's start straight away with the main event. Alejandro Pantoja versus Steve Erceg. Steve Erceg, phenomenal performance. Made a mistake in the 5th round, but still won the fight. Clear victory. Proves he's the best flyweight on earth. For some weird reason, for some really weird reason, though, they've given the belt to Pantoja. So, I don't know what's going on there. Some kind of confusion's gone on. They've given a belt to Pantoja. I guess I've been living in an imaginary world for the past 7 years where they didn't change it to damage-based scoring. So, I guess we're in that imaginary world. And they've given it to Pantoja. So, you know, next for Pantoja. Honestly, rather he just waited. There's nothing next for Pantoja. I guess they'll do Royval versus Makayev at UFC Manchester. And I hope Makayev wins that one, which is kind of sad to say style-wise because he's probably the most boring and least damage-causing fighter of anyone on the roster. What do you know? Match him up with Pantoja. It's all good, though. I don't even know if he beats Royval, but I hope he does because Royval's lost twice to Pantoja. So I guess this is our best hope, is that Makayev gets one over on Royval in July, and then maybe around October or November at the end of the year, we see Pantoja versus Makayev. That's the best option, in my opinion. And as for Steve Erceg, best flyweight in the world. Clearly. Won rounds 5 and 3, and 2, and 4. 4-1. Steve Erceg. I've watched the Weasels video. I've watched back the fight. It's not hard to score fights. And they've robbed him of his era. But that era shall continue. And I think the best sort of consolation prize is for him to get Brandon Moreno when he comes back. I was thinking, well, Nicolau just lost recently by KO, so I guess they could do, Steve Erceg versus Mateus Nicolau. But I was like, no, dude. He's proven he's the best. Let's see if he can beat Moreno as well. Because Moreno-Pantoja was close. I could see Pantoja winning that one because it's a little less clear than Erceg's win over Pantoja was. But let's see it. Steve Erceg, Brandon Moreno. Give him some top contenders. You know what I mean? Let him defend his imaginary belt, if you will. Because as far as I'm concerned, he's the best flyweight on earth. So let's see Steve Erceg, Brandon Moreno, Alejandro Pantoja, Mohamed Makayev. If Makayev gets past Royval, now we get into the interesting ones. Jose Aldo won his fight against Jonathan Martinez 3 rounds to none. 3 rounds to none. Dominant performance. And I'm telling you this right now. I hope I can remember this off the top of my head. Jose Aldo has beaten number 4 ranked Marlon Vera, number 8 ranked Rob Font, number 12 ranked Jonathan Martinez, and number 15 ranked Pedro Munoz. When Aldo re-enters the rankings, Munoz is probably going to slip out of them because everyone gets shifted down by 1. Aldo, if he's below Marlon Vera or below Rob Font, this sport makes no sense. He's one of the GOATs of the sport. He gave Merab his toughest fight yet in the entire division, so that's got to count for something as well. He gave Yan a real hard time in the first 3 rounds of their fight as well. I say put him at number 4 and give him Corey Sandhagen in the Bantamweight division. Title elimination bout at the Sphere. I've just heard that there's rumors of Merab Dvalishvili versus Sean O'Malley at the Sphere. So I think this could be a great backup fight and a great fight to add to that card as well. 3-rounder for Jose Aldo. We don't need to push him into a main event. If I was Aldo, I wouldn't be looking for main events either because I wouldn't want to go 5 rounds. So let's just see it. Jose Aldo, Corey Sandhagen on the main card of the Sphere card in September. I don't know what UFC card that's going to be. Probably something like UFC 305 or 304, something along those lines. And Aldo versus Sandhagen, dude. Sandhagen, I believe right now is number 2 or maybe number 3 in the rankings in the Bantamweight division. I think he might be number 2. I'm not sure. But he's in the top 4. And Jose Aldo should be at number 4. This is a title elimination bout in the Bantamweight division. And it ensures a fun, exciting, great matchup for the winner of Merab Dvalishvili versus Sean O'Malley. If it's Merab, he gets a tough challenge in Sandhagen or Aldo. If it's O'Malley, he gets a tough challenge, but he also gets a really interesting build-up of a fight where you know it's going to be a fun, striking war between two of the best strikers that we have in the UFC. So I think Aldo Sandhagen, and I know what people are going to say, what about Umar? He's number 9 in the rankings, and he hasn't beat a single fucking ranked opponent in his entire fucking career. And they tried to give him Sandhagen before he was even fucking ranked, and he still pulled out of that fight, and now they're looking to give it to him again, because they're not privileged at all. I hear what you're saying. That's a compelling argument against Aldo's resume. It really is. But what I'm going to say is maybe you should beat a ranked opponent first and then try and fight Sandhagen. And I'm willing to let that ranked opponent be highly ranked. I'm not saying that, we got to see Umar versus Pedro Munoz first. I'm not saying that. Let's see Umar Nurmagomedov, Henry Cejudo. That's the matchup to make. And that'll give us a real understanding of if Umar's wrestling is legit. So I think Henry Cejudo, Umar Nurmagomedov on the Sphere card as well. Why not? Let's get a bantamweight roster on that card so we can build some hype in that division. I think that's what you do. Anthony Smith won his fight. Vitor Petrino decided he wanted to be guillotined, and Smith obliged him. Let's put him against Bogdan Guskov. This is the matchup. I should have hyped this up a little bit more before I pulled him out. This is the matchup. Okay? The mirror match. You picked the same characters on Mortal Kombat match. This is the fucking matchup. Anthony Smith, Bogdan Guskov, just for the memes. I know you shouldn't really... Listen, I know UFC is $1 billion company and you shouldn't really be making fights for the memes, but they do help in promotion of the fight. Like I'm telling you, if Anthony Smith and Bogdan Guskov gets announced, it will make more noise than Anthony Smith against any other contender being announced. Mainly because Anthony Smith's lost to all of them pretty much. But it will make noise. It will go viral. Full Violence will fucking post about it. ESPN MMA will post about it as well, and probably post, Smith and Guskov in edited Photoshop facing each other off, and then it will cut to the Spider-Man meme on the next slide or something along those lines. That's the matchup. Anthony Smith, Bogdan Guskov, make it happen. I like the matchup. And Bogdan's earned a shot, a ranked opponent at light heavyweight. He just beat Ryan Spann more convincingly than Anthony Smith did in his recent fight with Ryan Spann. So let's put them against each other. They're on similar schedules. They'll probably be looking to come back around a similar time. Make it happen. We move on. Mikel Pereira, amazing re-debut at middleweight. Or is this his 3rd time that he's smoked someone at middleweight now? I think it is. He's done Andre Petrosky, Mikhail Alexeychuk, and now he's just got done with Ior Potieria. And he is a monster at middleweight. So, also, he was ranked at welterweight. So I think he actually is more deserving of a ranked opponent at middleweight than a lot of middleweights that are outside the rankings, because I think him being in the top 15 at welterweight means something when he then goes on a 3-fight win streak at middleweight. You shouldn't have to join the queue with some regional bum who's picked up 3 wins at the bottom of the middleweight division. Mikel Pereira needs to save the day. There's a fight that fell through on the very next pay-per-view card of UFC 302, Makhachev versus Poirier. Mikel Pereira, save the fucking day, brother. We need another big fight on that card. We have Makhachev versus Poirier. We have... What else is on that card? Makhachev versus Poirier, Strickland versus Costa, and outside of that, there's literally nothing of interest on that card whatsoever beyond Almeida Romanov. And they've got Taylor versus Van on the prelims. It should be on the main card as well. So I'm looking at that main card and I'm thinking, it's missing that final thing. So Anthony Hernandez pulled out of his fight with Roman Dolidze. Mikel Pereira versus Roman Dolidze it is. Get him on that quick turnaround. He's got a ton of hype. Keep it going. It's not like Mikel Pereira makes headlines outside of the cage. It's not like he's a great speaker or anything like that. So I think his fighting is what's going to promote him. And I think when that's the case, activity is what's going to do you wonders. I think Mikel Pereira, Roman Dolidze, say, Mikel Pereira, we don't know when you're going to get a shot at a ranked opponent. It's now or never. And then we'll see Mikel Pereira be a little bit more inclined to take that risk and step in again after just winning. He took 0 damage, make that fight happen. And then you're looking at a main card of Poirier Makhachev main event, co-main event Strickland versus Costa. Shit, probably feature fight Mikel Pereira versus Roman Dolidze. Or maybe a feature. I'd actually like a feature fight of Tatsuro Taira versus Joshua Van. But then you'd have Pereira versus Delizzi on the main card and Almeida Romanov. And it looks infinitely a way better card just by adding that one fight on there. So I think put it on that very next pay-per-view in a month. We move on. Caio Borralho got a win over Paul Craig, as expected. And, yeah, dude, he's been putting together a hell of a resume. I mean, I can't think off the top of my head his entire resume, but I think he's beat, like, Muradov. He's beat Armen Petrosian. Like, these are difficult guys to get by. And he's beaten them. You know, I think he beat Mikhail Alekseychuk as well at some point, if I remember. I just remember him being on the back of a lot of these fighters throughout his career. So he's had some good performances. He's just coming off a KO over Paul Craig. I reckon we should see Caio Borralho take a jump up the rankings and fight against Jack Hermansson. Jack Hermansson coming off winner against Joe Pyfer. It's not enough to make him start calling for a top 5 opponent again. He's probably going to need another one, and then he can start looking back into the top 10 and moving himself up the rankings. Caio Borralho, Jack Hermansson, whenever they want to make this fight, maybe at the Sphere on the prelims, this could be a, you know, I could fucking see them doing some kind of fucking bullshit Apex Fight Night main event with it. As long as there's a good enough undercard, I wouldn't actually mind, but it would be weak. Borralho versus Hermansson. Make it happen. Give them both a bit of time. You know, Hermansson likes to take a bit of time between fights. He's reasonably active, but he likes his recovery. He's not a short notice, quick turnaround type of guy. So I'm going to say Borralho, take a few months, come back around October, let's say. October card, Borralho versus Hermansson. We move on. Joe Anderson Brito got a win over Jack Shaw. Took no damage, but his foot is going to be sore because he was getting a few of the kicks checked. So I say let's go for Joe Anderson Brito versus his test at featherweight, the ranked test that every featherweight pretty much has to go through. It's Dan Ige. He has no matchup right now. He recently won a fight earlier this year. Let's put them against each other. Joe Anderson Brito, no doubt, has earned a ranked opponent. Otherwise, he's just going to keep killing off these other contenders outside the rankings. Let's start making that move. Let's start making that shift between the newcomers and the people that are already there. I think Joe Anderson Brito versus Dan Ige is self-explanatory. Put it on any card. Fight night, co-main event. What else? Prelims of the pay-per-view. Make it happen. My Takbek Oral Bly. Great win over Elves Brenner. It's Elves Brenner. He is dangerous. So you can't really say, he looked sloppy. He gassed out. Like, he beat Elves Brenner. That's a difficult win to get. It really is. So I like it. Oral Bly. Great win. Not ready for the rankings yet, in my opinion. But ready to get someone who's going to maybe get him towards those rankings. Drakkar Klose is that matchup, in my honest opinion. I think Drakkar Klose is definitely the matchup to take here. So my Takbek Oral Bly versus Drakkar Klose is the fight. I'd love to see it. Drakkar Klose coming off a win over Joaquim Silva. That's a high unranked lightweight right there. High ranked, unranked lightweight right there. So they're in a good position to fight against each other, right next to each other outside the rankings. My Takbek Oral Bly, Drakkar Klose, make it happen. We move on. Mauricio Huffy. I'm a big fan of this guy now. I was watching him on the regional scene. I was telling you guys, watch out for this guy. He's going to KO Jamie Mullarkey. Great performance. We need to take, let's not get too ahead of ourselves though. Great performance, but let's not ruin him by just chucking him to the wolves straight away. I say we do Mauricio Huffy versus Ignacio Bahamondes in the Sphere, in September, on that card. If he wants to be on the McGregor card, he can be. I think that'd be a great spotlight for him. But I like this in the Sphere. I think it'll be a good prelim fight for that pay-per-view. So yeah, let's go Mauricio Huffy versus Ignacio Bahamondes. That's every fight to make on the card. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Toodle pip. I'll see you later. Goodbye.